we meet in person, Dan, we're gonna choreograph a whole routine to this.
I'll say again. I couldn't quite hear you.
So when we meet in person, we're gonna choreograph a whole routine to that song.
That's
and
fine.
film
Yeah,
it.
well, we can do that. I put it at half volume. I can hear you. Everyone can hear us, you know. But it's all right. We're talking over the intro music. It's just giving people time to get on, right? While we're so we kind of lead up to the intro. Lots of good stuff happening. But yeah, the new intro would be good. Oh, an animation, with the Dank characters would be good.
Totally.
Now this is like the halfway point where we can always pull, just launch into the broadcast, or we can let it go for another minute and a half. That's why I like this particular setup is kind of set up to run an additional a whole 3 minutes.
I need you to show me how to talk after. I need you to show me how to do the Zoom live on YouTube.
Oh yes, okay. Well, we'll have to do it. Share screen. I'll make that happen.
Yeah.
I had a long talk with Tweety also.
Oh yeah.
Early in the morning, like 4 a.m. I was up since 1 a.m.
Wow.
I went to sleep early and I just fell asleep and didn't get up.
Always good.
Okay, here we are toward the end. And this is normally where I turn on the camera.
Wow.
And then I wave. And then it's out. I push pause. So otherwise it starts a whole other intro. And then I say, hello, hello, hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with
Stefan Rowe, also known as Dank.
Okay. And we are
together. We're Dank. Dank. Right. We gotta work it out. We're closer though. We're closer.
That's all right. We'll get the hang of it eventually. This is only episode 143 in a row. So I think what we had the idea. You came up with the two characters in the very first week or something, right? Yeah, I don't know.
I forget when. I mean, I've had them. I kept trying to throw them out there and get you. But I was getting you in trouble.
Well, I use them. I put them on the back screen, and also it's the thumbnail right on all the videos. So I use it.
Oh yeah, it looks great actually. I love that one.
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of image processing to kind of widen it out and make it big enough to fill it. Otherwise, you look back and you've got these two white lines on either side in the beginning videos. I could go back and change that, but anyway, that's just more work to do. And there's less of that to do, less time available. Been very occupied and trying to move these things. Too many things moving forward. I know I was just talking with you about the new Swiss Indo announcement about a new cryptocurrency that they're backing with their 189 billion kilograms of platinum and gold. And it seems to be a merger of their management between a coin and the Swiss Indo management. But I want to.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk with them and hopefully today I'll speak with Annie Forrest and kind of get more of information about what they're doing there. and see how that's going to, how does that work in regards to the trust and their trust and what is it still pledged? Is it not? Is there an agreement? And these are just questions I have. How to make it? You know, these are just questions in my mind. I want to get clarity.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's like that. The letter that we read, from the Galactic Council. If I were to assess it myself personally,
I'll pull it up while we're.
I went through that letter because So I went through that letter very thoroughly, and I was kind of confused by the different reports I'd heard, because I thought, and I'm not sure actually now what Thomas said, if he said something about a Draco Queen, right, or what that meant. But what the letter says is it's written to Kim. And when you get to the line where it says, as the rightful heir to the throne, as appointed by source, or something like that.
Right.
Well, that's written to Kim, right? That's like saying, now you, Kim, as the rightful heir to the throne, as stated by source, and then the next line says, there will not be another king appointed to be subject us to these insidious, to subject his children to this insidious race, right?
Yeah, I highlighted.
And then it says, and it says, but instead a queen will be, and that is talking about Kim, and that is talking about this planet.
It's not talking about the Mantis Queen.
Right. So then there's the Mantis Queen, which Kim has had interactions with before, because the Mantis Queen, tried to convince, the Galactic Council that, that we are all, like, look at all that the Mantis did for us, right? That they deserve to take all the resources of the planet. And Kim argued that, no, you didn't do anything for us. You divided us. You enslaved us. You divided us by religion, race, all these different things. You wiped our memories. You made us miserable. You even divided us in our brains, right? Divided the hemispheres of our brains. That's how much you divided us, right? And made it just so we're not even a race of people, but we're a race divided, right? So there was that. So I'm familiar with this Mantid Queen somewhat from that story from Kim. So for her to throw up her arms, also the Mantid were the ones, they're the ones responsible for the nanites, and all these really advanced technologies to try to control us and things like that. So for her to throw up her, hands and surrender and just work for peace, that makes sense. And then the part about Kim being the queen makes sense. What I got confused by was what Thomas was saying, or what I had heard. So I have to clarify. I did not hear Thomas say this myself. What I was told, and so I gotta go find it on the broadcast. What I was told is that he's, that the Draco Queen. Now, if you look at it from a purely standpoint of a lineage, right? Well, I could see how maybe he is referring to Kim. He's saying the Draconian Queen, and he said has buy-in from 75 to 80% of the planet, and that we should work to peace. But I'm kind of like, well, we've been working to peace, so I'm just not sure who he's talking to. So, and I'm not even sure if that's accurate. but the document itself is actually very encouraging once I understood what it was saying.
Right.
Because so that makes sense, right? It's like, well.
So was the Draco King and the Mantis Queen, were they they're separate beings? Yeah. So really, you have King Anu, right? Are they both? Were they both Draco? Or the Mantis Queen, are they separate?
No, you have King. No, these are different leaders of. So King Anu was the leader of the Anunnaki, and right, and I don't know if he's the grandfather. He was like the grandfather of Marduk, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then you have the Mantis Queen is totally separate. Now, these two.
But is she Draco also?
The Mantid. I think it's just the Anunnaki is draconian, right? I think that's how it goes.
Anunnaki is draconian.
That's
my
right.
understanding. Yeah, that from Orion. That's the Orion overall. That's why they're always focused on Orion.
Right.
But I don't know about the Mantis Queen. I don't know if that's
the Mantis are no, they're separate, but they work together, right? Okay. So you have the Mantis Queen. She's her own force, and then you have King Anu, who's his own force, and they work together to conquer planets and devour the resources, right? So the Anunnaki or the Draco were brilliant at coming in, and they were warriors, right? The Sun Tzu art of war, Sun Tzu was Marduk, right? And that whole idea of divide and conquer and consume the resources, allow your enemy to consume themselves, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's all draconian values. Now, Kim was very trained in these things by Marduk himself, right? In this time when she didn't know who was who yet. Mm-hmm. Now, there's that part, and then you have, so that's one group, and they worked with a different race, which is the Mantids, which is the Queen of the Mantids, and they were the ones who had all the technology, right? They're also, I believe, I'm never sure if it's the Arcadians or the Mantids, but somewhere in there, the AI systems, the really advanced technology, and the nanites and all this stuff. And they would basically come in and they would infiltrate, a world, take it over, and they enslave the people. They take some off. So we have all these other galactics who are basically, they came here as slaves like us from other planets that they had already consumed their resources. And they brought them here, and for the most part, to become permanent residents, from what I understand. Right. So that's the extent of the details that Kim has shared with me, and she's been very gentle with me on these things. So you got she's throwing these things, but it's kind of like, all right, they're so incredible.
I got an angle here. Maybe you'll appreciate. Star Trek Enterprise, the series, right? Jonathan Archer as the first Warp 5 starship captain, right? And they went up against the Xindi. Mm-hmm. Right, and the Xindi were a group of aliens from, they were all Xindi, but they all had a separate, one was a reptilian like the Draco, and one was insectoid like a mantis. They look mantis-like, and they also had an arboreal group, and then they had a primate group. And then they had an Aquarian group, which was kind of like a merman type-ish, but looking more like walruses, but with arms and hands. And then there was an extinct race of avians, right, that were that were gone. But these 6 races were trying to kill off humanity and blow up the earth, right? Because they thought that we were going to destroy them in the future. Right, so we better wipe them out now.
Right. Wow.
So it seems
that's pretty amazing.
It seems to me like they're telling a story here. That they have to tell us the story, and they tell it to us through these programs like Stargate SG-1, Star Trek series, right? So
I've got to go find that. I've got to go find that episode now. I've got to go find that. That's amazing.
Yeah. It definitely. Well, it's kind of like the whole first 2 seasons of Star Trek Enterprise. That is it's a 4-year season, and it's the first 2 years. So you got I don't know, 50 episodes, something like that. Something like that. Episodes that will go through this whole storyline, but it's also there's time people from out of the future that are kind of messing around, thrown into the mix.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, these these really incredible. And one of the other ones is that I look to is Stargate, right? The first Stargate. From what I understand, I was told that first Stargate, the first Stargate movie, was as much a documentary as a movie because it was so accurate.
Yes.
That's from a lot of people in that world. And then Kim has talked to me about the Ender's Game, which in the Ender's Game, there's this war with the humans against the mantids, right? And they've got all these kids and they're training them, to basically control the hologram, and they think they're just playing a game, basically, like just a simulator. But then in the end, the best of the best finds out that he wiped out a planet. He comes face to face with the queen of the mantids, right? So I mean, it's very appropriate. And then and then feels terrible. Doesn't want to wipe out a whole race of people or mantid, right? So he's devastated.
So this is, but this is just showing how crazy we are, because we believe
without question
these stories that are in the movies and TV series that we're taking at face value, that this is what really has happened, right? And this is how they they create this scenario that obviously if you believe this stuff, you're crazy,
right? But it's definitely real. It's definitely real. It's hard to say. Like, I'm sure there's parts. Obviously, not everything's accurate, but it definitely gives you a better feel. And Kim told me Jupiter Ascending is another one, and then there's another one too. Oh, and Divergent, the whole Divergent series, right?
Right.
Because these are all talking about things that are really happening. Oh, and the Fifth Element, right? There's another one.
The Fifth Element, yeah. But I feel quite divergent. How about you?
Oh, I mean, actually, that came up because my lawyer Paul, we were in a conversation with Kim, and he asked her a question, and about like why, like how did you reach out to Tank, or why? And she specifically cited that movie talking about Divergent. It just there's some of us that are divergent. And she's like, it only takes one. So you have enough people that are divergent in their thinking, and you get more of them, and we'll just pretty soon Divergent will become normal.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Yeah, it's like they try to control things so that the one thing that they try to shadow ban, right, is the one thing that takes over.
Yep.
Right. So we all.
And I saw this. It's funny. I mean, years ago when I did my master's, I studied Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, right? So, he was basically dividing the brain up into like, oh, you could be social, you could be musical, you could be mathematical, you could be theatrical. I mean, all these different types of intelligences and groups that he labeled. He said there's probably many more. But it's funny, what I realized in teaching and like applying these things is that the brain is like a spider web, right? And you could really make one part of the web really strong, right? And that could be great, but the rest of the web is weak, and it really doesn't, isn't nearly as impactful. So if you just work on the whole, everything that you have, all the tools that you have at your disposal, and you develop all of them, I mean, that's why I started playing the bass when I was 30. Because I never really had any musical talent, but I wanted to be, I wanted to understand music and I wanted to be in the band. And I feel like the more you develop all these different qualities within yourself, from music to the arts to math to science to everything, I think it just makes you more efficient with all of them. The arts will help you understand math better, and math will help you understand music better, and so on and so on. So they've always tried to keep us in our place, right? They keep us in our limited niche. And, I'll tell you, we spoke with Dr. Rima today, who's really just an incredible activist, right? She was married. Oh, I can't remember her husband was a general, famous general, and he was big on, saying that the the way to beat them or the way they're trying to beat us is with informed consent, right? But they're doing all this incredible stuff, and they're using all these different ways to ensure that people, um, that they realize how they can be healed without medicine at all. And they've cured all manners of things. Matter of fact, she says outright that if there was no vaccines, there would be no autism, period. Unapologetically, and she's very confident she can prove it, and I definitely believe her. And she has these cards, which I highly recommend when this video comes out. I think it actually just is out now on the Speak Project YouTube. It's a great. It's long, but it's great. It is so packed with stuff.
One second. I have to solve this. Fly, you are not invited. Please leave. This is buzzing around my head.
Right. Fly's like, well, you were talking about the mantis. I figured I'd tell my friend.
Yeah.
we have a piece.
No, I wasn't talking to you. Just leave now. And otherwise, I have a fly swatter. The sentence of death upon you if you would just stay and bother the show. So, okay, so he's still here.
Yeah. Oh no! Come on, come on, Fly. So but Dr. Rima, she made a great point. Now they have this card, right? And the card says, "I do not consent to any vaccines being put in my body or any medication of any kind, right? Under any circumstances." It's like something like that, right? And she's talking about making sure you put it on file with your kids at school. Make sure you have it with you on your being at all times, right? In case anything ever happens, you make sure they know they don't have the right to do that. And she was saying you have to be solid about it and stern about it, right? And I was kind of like, I'm not trying to make my kids a target at school, which when your kids a little different. But she backed me down. She said, we're already a target. They're trying to commit genocide on all of us. I said, yep, you got me. You're right. You're absolutely right. So,
yeah,
but yeah, they were great. And
you need to be firm about that.
Yep. Well, I just, putting these files, this has always been a big thing, like if they put the stigma of ADHD on your kid, right? It's like they'll immediately, now you're kind of dealing with that monster, right? Because they're identified in a category, right? And they start setting out life paths. And this is what they've done to all of us, right? It's like, remember when we were kids who take the, what career is best for you, the career assessment test. They'd be like, you could be a bus driver, you could be an art teacher, you could be a garbage man. And it's like now they put you in this box.
Yeah, I got a great idea. We start a school for the gifted that have ADHD.
Yes, indeed.
No medication, but we're support those children to express themselves as ADHD and allow them to get onto as many subjects, music to geometry to algebra to chemistry to sculpting to painting, everything that they decide that they want to move to one item to the next, support them in all of it.
I totally agree. It would be like the X-Men school, right? It'd be like,
there we go. Yeah, see, they're telling us again. Yeah. You got to do the school for the gifted with these unusual abilities that they have to go from subject to subject to subject to subject to subject.
Well, actually, and if you just have the patience to listen to somebody with ADHD, right? Like, because I got diagnosed with ADHD before it was popular.
Congratulations.
Right? But if you just yeah, thank you. I'm gifted. So, but I realize if you just stay the course with them, you'll realize they're not jumping from subject to subject. They have just found the link between all of those subjects, and they can tie them all together.
Exactly. You're correct. You're correct. It was when I started my very first official incorporated entity, right? It was a 3D animation company. And I literally had 12 hats in this, right?
Of course.
But they were all tied together. It was one massive project, right? To do so many different things there was animation work, There was tech work, assembly of systems and computers and linking them together, and coding work. And there was business contracts, and there was marketing, and there was finance, so all of this stuff was going on simultaneously. And I had people would come in and they would watch, and I'm doing so many different things, and they got dizzy. But it was all just one thing, right? I was doing one thing. It just happened to involve all these separate, disciplines. You're right.
Exactly. And that, you know what? And I think that's in perfect harmony with your body, right? Because your body is always doing, millions of things, but it's all just working for you. So it's the same idea.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, true. Yeah, it's amazing. Anything else? Any news that we can talk about from Kim?
No, I'm waiting for the big reveal, I guess. If we're really on a new timeline, if Kim's position is being recognized by, sources that actually have the ability to, influence things on an energetic level and spiritual level and a consciousness level, which I think clearly that's happening, right? And there's a collective buy-in. I don't see how, these blockades can last much longer. And so, now it's just a matter of, where does it drop first?
Someone was just calling me.
That's okay. I thought I got hung up on it for a second. Like, did I just lose the call? Yeah, no. So we're essentially waiting for that. But I don't know. When I heard that letter, it took me a little while to digest it to make sure I understood. So I had to go back and actually look at the text and say, what is this saying? We had so many different queens going on. I didn't know who was who, and so. But I've been comfortable with. I acknowledge Kim as the queen back on June 1st of 2018, and a pretty incredible experience I had where I had this whole experience where I was speaking to myself, I guess, I guess I was channeling myself or something. I can't explain it. It never happened to me before, and I wrote this whole long story about this time right now. And I actually described in the story that I came back to this time to remind myself of what it felt like to be so powerless. You can read that on the blog. If you want to go check it out. But it's so, what's so weird? It's so weird about it is like, I never had an experience like that. And even when I wrote it, I'm like, look, I don't know what this is, but I have to write it. So I put it and I documented it. So if anybody ever wants to really make sure I'm crazy, you can go check that out on the Speak Project.
Well, one of the things I was telling people in my Entente group and others that have been on mission, or we used to say that we're on mission, right? To change the cabal out and replace it with an abundance-based world, or whatever. However, we're moving forward, we're all on mission to do this, and we all. One of the ways that we can confirm that the people were of the right heart and mind is they had absolutely no money.
Exactly. Like, if you offer to invest, you're automatically out. We know you're.
Yeah. So
I know.
But it's one of those things. It's just one. The system is set up to remove money from everybody, and they've cannibalized the bottom pretty much. And unless you've been or put yourself in with them and are taking advantage, you're a parasite of some sort. You're still in the game, right? So this is what it comes down to. Is like you're in alignment with the parasitic nature of them. You're still feeding off of the dead it's not the dead corpse yet, but it's starting to
Well, I mean, you're still
taking medicine and removing the parasites. It's doing a cleanse. It's called the Trump cleanse.
yeah.
It takes several red pills, right? I all have the label Q on
several. Yep. Yeah, I think it's just such a weird situation, all this stuff. Just trying, because at some point you realize that no new money comes from the wealthy, right? All that has been done is certain people have been allowed to stay wealthy while they devour the impoverished.
Right.
That's
in every
and then eventually,
way they can.
Yeah.
Right. They devour in many ways.
So I'm very anxiously, almost, anticipating and very, very confident right now that we're right there. That Kim is being recognized by, I would imagine, groups all over the world, and they're realizing this is the only way out. I know that one thing I was told that that Kim said she was gonna. Based on today, because they were supposed to collapse last week, and then they're still playing their games and trying to be out there in front. So Kim said she was going to block payroll to all the banks as of today. Yeah, so that's a pretty big move.
That's a big move.
Well, I think so, and I'm hoping, just knowing Kim's style, that that would include every single possible person, and it would be known immediately, right? To the bank, because if you're blocking payroll as of today and nobody finds out till Friday, you still gotta wait. But if you went in today and the first thing you noticed was, if you don't acknowledge our money and bring this in, every single person will not get paid. I feel like you'd have a pretty quick fallout, right? Because they've been making claims that they can pay people, and they have been, and they've been giving out bank credits. But if they don't have the ability to do that anymore, well, what can they do? Right, so they don't have the ability to do bank credit. So what do they have the ability to do? Well, they can claim that they are the real M1. They can use because now they're realizing that that Marduk is dead, right? So they can claim that they're the King of Kings, right? Because the King of Kings is recognized in all these documents. They can claim that they're the great dictator, or now. So that'll be the next move, right? They're all trying to make the claim on Kim's position. That's why it's very important, I think, that this document came out now, acknowledging that's the only person on that level is Kim. So she's the only one that can take the assets and turn it into money. So
I've got a question. How was this letter delivered?
By a flying beluga whale avian from the North Star Orion galaxy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's
it just was it an email? I mean,
yeah, I guess that would be funny. You wonder how these things come out. It's like, how did you receive this? I mean, can we see it? That's what I'd like to know. Like, I'd like to know what their signature looks like and who signed it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of like where I was going. So to dig in a little bit, but no, I think it's marvelous to hear that we've made it. Right. We've got the sun, agreeing to this. Right. When it had this lull and we had this energy burst that came from the planet where there's no sun is on a lull, but the planet is all of a sudden, expressing.
Yeah.
So all this stuff happening at the same time, and we're only 143 episodes in. So
yeah. I remember getting mad when you said we were going to get to 100. I'm like, no, Dan, we're not going to make it that far. We're going to be done before then.
Yeah. I'm happy with it only taking 15 episodes. That would have been great.
I know. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. I don't even know what I was thinking now. Jeez, I thought we were on top. I mean, actually, there was an ultimatum then too, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question comes down to is like, well, okay, so how long is it possibly going to last? I mean, these guys are getting hunted down everywhere. You know, at this point, it appears to me like you even have cooperation from the weather. Like it seems like all of a sudden the weather is on our side, and these things are being used against them. All these tools that were used against us to keep us a certain way. It seems like that. And I could be wrong, but I'm just saying that's what it feels like to me. Like everything is operating in our favor, and you know, and so it has to drop. It has to change. And but at the end of the day, I can't say unequivocally, oh yeah, we've made it. Until I won't. I can't relax or take my foot off the gas until I know absolutely that we can actually spend money and actually go, you know, do the work. Because I think too many times I've celebrated in a sense before it's done. You know,
Right.
and so it's a tenacious existence, right? To be in this state. So I really am appealing to Source and to Kim to move their asses to get this done.
Well, you know what? Who was trying to call me? I took a look. I remember I told you about the first jade breastplate of the the
Yes.
first emperor of China. His
Yep.
jade breastplate. So it's the owner has contacted me again. He sent me the material I told you about,
Oh,
the
good.
evaluation, and a video about it as well, a long video and a short video uh, that from the one who was evaluating it. So anyway, like I think that it's a good timing to get this information to you because it may have some importance in helping to move things. Recognizing the first emperor of China might have something to do with this. I don't know.
I actually agree. I mean, it seems like it would go a long way as far as just you know, um, diplomatic relations, right? Um,
Right.
I would. So I have brought it up to Kim, but I mean, she's been kind of, you know, I'm not sure if she's in the Orion Nebula or in the planet or just waiting. I'm not sure.
Under the planet,
But
in the planet, over the planet.
yeah, I mean, I realize that the things that I have to almost joke, but at the same time I'm like, but all that's possible because just absolutely anything you can imagine is really happening right now as we see. So it's incredible
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So man, I'm glad. So you got the actual file. That's a big deal to get it like
Yeah.
authenticated. It's huge.
Yeah. And yeah, it's yeah, the story behind it. I'll say a little bit about it. It was in a museum in Malaysia for like 100 some years or something like that. And then that museum was being closed down, and they were selling off the assets. So it was sold. This breastplate was sold to an American philanthropist, and he was ended up selling it to someone else, another American, uh, who then used it as collateral on a loan. It was then lost to that gentleman because he defaulted on the loan. The guy it went to after that uh, was kind of I guess he was the one that holding the note, and so he collected on it. Then he used it as collateral, and then he defaulted on the note, but he borrowed from a friend of mine, and now he's the new owner of it. But while my friend, who was the new owner of it, he had was looking to get it evaluated, but the guy who just lost it, he went of those as though he still owned it, sold it to a church. Right, and that church, of course, didn't know that he had no ownership of it anymore. But this is also when the Secret Service got involved um, with this process, because apparently because it's a historical asset owned by another country. I mean, not owned, but from another country. For some reason, that it falls under the Secret Service, not under the Treasury or the State Department. It actually is under the Secret Service, and they actually took possession of it while it went through now these legal battles that for the people involved in reselling it and so on. They all got into trouble, but my friend has received it back. I believe it was the end of last year. I think it was October, November, something like that. It is now in a very safe and secure location, but it is a good idea that it makes it back into the hands of China in some way. But of course, they like to receive a substantial amount of money for this, and it's very, I think, a very important piece. One day I'll show some pictures of it.
It's really cool. Yeah, I love stuff like this. Yeah, I love it. Like as an artist, that's like one of the styles. Like I studied all, Chinese ink styles and wash styles, and I actually did shows in like Chinatown and in Flushing, which is all Chinese and Vietnamese, and I got great reviews, which is very rare for a white guy to get great reviews from making a Chinese style wash painting. So that's very funny. So yeah, that's so cool. I can't wait. I've got some great connections on that. But it's funny because your ideal candidates, right, would be your Chinese elders. But I'm thinking to myself, like, if the Chinese elders get it, they'll probably use it for some like secret spell and like leverage it for like $50 gazillion, and next thing you know, we're so we got to be careful with that one. We got to be careful.
Yeah, the other I think it is important because also the first emperor of China also has this underground city dedicated to him that's all made of gold, and it has rivers of mercury flowing around it, and I don't know how it ties in, but for some reason I think that there is some importance to it. I just think it's been lost through time.
Right. Well, you have the terracotta soldiers? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Right. It's all in the same area. They're not far from there. They're not in the same area, but just a little bit away from there. But it's part of the same build, right? This whole idea
that underground, right? So I guess you need in case you need to call upon soldiers in the underground battles, right? They're just.
It's really amazing, right? It's like you use these to trap the souls of these soldiers, right? I mean, it's definitely ritualistic in some nature, and like it's pretty amazing.
There's some things I'm not that I'm not saying about it, but I don't know if I should say it or not. But I'll hold off and I'll ask my friend if it's okay to talk about those things. And I can show the video. Probably we can look at that tomorrow and just maybe discuss that piece.
Well, I would have to think at some point, that'll be offered as some kind of gift from the trust, or maybe it'll be for Create Change, man. Maybe I can get Kim to sign off on us buying it, and maybe it'll be important for our own diplomatic relationships. I don't know.
Could be.
But I would like to have, all these different groups, I'd like to find ways to bridge these gaps. I think the only thing is, like right now, I don't believe anybody has money. I don't believe anybody has any real assets. I think everybody's frozen, and every time they go to do something, I mean, how many times do we hear this? I mean, every day. I mean, I've got people in Hong Kong and Ecuador and Brazil and Italy. I mean, everybody's got the same obstacle, right? I mean, so at some point it's like, what else is there? Like, when did the good guys stand up and say, wait a minute, nothing's moving? Like, we should probably do something about this. Like, it's amazing to
Well,
me that
it's
anything's
hard to
able to
say,
stop.
right? Because of the it's like compartmentalized information, right? So if it's not working for you, right, you don't know it's not working for the others,
Yeah, right. Like you don't
right?
exactly. And like you just think you did something wrong, or they're just targeting you, or you're just being picked on because this happened. Like with lots of people, right? Like owners of television networks had their whole fortunes like um taken really, but to them they could still see the numbers and it would just be frozen, right? And
Right.
that's why the banks are so powerful, right? Because like you said, what do banks do? Nothing. That's why we're renaming everything Tanks of America. and they'll actually serve a purpose versus doing nothing.
I'm all for that. I think Tanks of America or Tanks instead of banks is fine. I mean, I
Yeah,
want to change the names to Onks, right? Double A.
Unks, right, right.
Right? So that because the banks are doing one thing, but they're not doing what we think they should be doing. So we should build the thing that we think it should be doing, which is helping businesses, right? That's what they should be doing.
Right, right.
Helping
Like a
economic
trust,
development.
a trust is such a great name for a financial instrument, right? Because you think, oh, with that comes trust, right?
Yeah,
But hasn't served that way. Hasn't
but
served that way.
I guess it can, but it's just it's the tool has been misused.
Yeah. So it's going to be a very incredible new world, and I think about it. I mean, I spend 24 hours a day considering the world I want to live in because I really truly believe we are creating it. So that is my advice to anybody. I think the more time we spend doing that, the more we're bringing it into our field, making it real. We're making it matter, right?
We're
Literally,
making it into matter,
that's
into
right. We're
matter,
making it into matter,
into,
right? What you
yeah.
focus on, you make it matter. So
Physically
I
creating something of substance,
right, spirit materialized. That's it, right?
spirit
From the
materialized.
abstract to the concrete. It's amazing. So that's where we're at. I mean, I don't even know what happened today in the news. I didn't get a chance to check. I'm sure. I'm sure more people
Well,
got arrested.
it's the IG report is now out, and so that's what they're going nuts over. And Mueller
So
report is now coming out. So Mueller's supposed to testify. So get this. So Mueller was his testimony was pushed off a whole week, right? But they
right.
but it's supposed to be today now, and so no Wednesday. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be on Wednesday. So the IG report comes out on Tuesday, right? Or is it still Monday? I guess it's still Monday. So basically, it
Yeah.
doesn't give. So are they going to reschedule Mueller now because the IG report is out? Now they have to make sure that he doesn't say anything that's going to contradict what's in the IG report or get them into trouble, right? So this is the maneuvering that's happening now.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. What
And
a
then
game.
and Comey also is out there, spinning his wheels.
Yeah. You know, it all feels like a distraction to me and that stuff. I just pay attention to their language so much and how they're just making such a big deal about something that doesn't matter, right? Like, but yet, the answers to all these things, for the most part, was okay, not just bringing money in, but giving it to the right people on the ground and using it for what it's for. Most of these problems they would have just dissolved because, there wouldn't even be issues because we'd all just be working towards things and nobody would be, have time to be preoccupied with this ridiculous witch hunt. It's like, what do they get out of this? I mean, they're so afraid to lose. You have that like where you hold on to something when you're a kid or something like for so long, you're so terrified of the consequences. Then when you finally come clean, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I just got to
Yeah,
take my lumps and move on. Now, in their case, I mean, I guess it's like, you know,
firing squad.
death and imprisonment. Yeah, death and imprisonment. But it's like you should have thought of that before. You started like you kidnapped a 3-year-old and
Well,
decided you were
well,
going to bring your friends over for a gangbang. I mean,
So we're going to see these sacrificial lambs now being thrown out, right? They're the ones out in front. Those are the ones that are going to start dropping, right? And then it goes to the next layer, and then the next layer, and so it's not going to stop, right? That's the thing. They think that they can stop it because the press is on their side, and they're going to put up some sort of blockade. It's not going to happen because this other information, like say what just happened to the governor of Puerto Rico, these 900 pages of text messages or whatever that has made it out into the public's hands. I saw an interview with him and Shepard Smith, and Shepard Smith was grilling the guy, right? And he was just like typical politician, slick, trying to wiggle his way out of it. Said, "Well, I apologized." And Shepard said, "Well, what did you apologize for? For your mistake? Well, a mistake is something you do by accident, right?
Right.
It's not something you intended to do, right? So, the guy
900 texts. What is it, 900? Doesn't seem like a mistake. It seems like
over 2 months. That's just a 2-month period, right? Where he's bashing, making fun of the people that are affected by the hurricane, right? He hasn't gotten them relief. They don't have water. They're living with blue tarps, for protection from the elements. And he had billions of dollars. I'm sorry, these people should have, already. You could have built a whole new.
You could have rebuilt Puerto Rico 3 times with that money. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Yeah. They let the food spoil on the docks, and then they somehow blamed Trump for it. What?
Right.
Like, the food's there. He wasn't keeping it from you. Like, not from you. I mean, anybody. Like, everything is so. It's such an exhausting process at this point. It's like, okay, enough of the nonsense. Like, somebody has got to be the adult in the room at some point and be like, okay, look, we saw you do it. We all know what you did. Like, enough. Like, just, it needs to stop now. You need to find another job. Like, go work the drive-thru at Wendy's.
That's exactly it, right? Because this information came out, and this is now a new front line where you see that this black site, this CIA black site, or cabal black site, which is all of Puerto Rico, is now going to be flipped, right? These people are all going to be out of power now, and the people are now rallying around Trump, right?
Yes, nice.
And Trump was the one pushing the number out there. I think Trump used a bad number, 90 billion, right? He said 90 billion was given. So I think that he purposely makes the wrong number so they can talk about him making the mistake.
Right. Then they actually bring more attention to it, right?
Right.
It's like,
instead of, it's 70 billion, not 90 billion. Oh, does that really make it any better?
Yeah. Oh, it's only 70 billion. Why are we even talking about this? It's peanuts, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, it is very tactical. I realize Trump is great at that. He's great at just kind of playing the fool at times, and dropping a few things here and there that he knows is going to irritate them. I get it.
Oh yeah, he has them, and they have nothing that they can do. That's why they want to bring up Mueller and the Russian collusion and obstruction. Now they're not even talking Russian collusion anymore. They're only talking about obstruction, right? So that's the only thing that they say now: obstruction of what? And now there is like, if they start grilling Mueller about this, why? The whole purpose of this was because of Hillary Clinton or the DNC servers were hacked by Russians. That's the whole reason the Russian story came up. It never happened. Yeah. Never happened. It was Jeff Rich, that was going to expose them, right, for Uranium One.
Well, what's fascinating is, like, it's really, really interesting, this part to me, right? So if you look, right, and then
You're breaking up.
Law, so that bad guys can get off. Oh, sorry. So Black's law is written to the letter law or to the spirit of law, and then all the statutory laws and the UCC laws are written to the letter law. It's designed that way so that organized crime families can, in whatever these various high-powered officials can get away with horrible things on a technicality, right? So in Trump's case, it's so funny because if you look at the technicality, they didn't follow the proper procedures even to even launch the initial, uh, surveillance on him, right? So that already is technicality. It throws everything out. So after that, it doesn't even matter. But Trump gave them complete access in every way. He cooperated with every part of everything with the investigation, and they had the audacity to call it obstruction. I mean,
Right.
he's let them have everything. The only thing he kind of drew a line with was his personal taxes, which good for him. Like he doesn't have to expose his family like that or himself. I mean, it's not your business. It's not the law. So I just think it's so funny that the rights that they try to assert as if they're just so obviously a mess right now. I mean, it's such an awful mess. The confidence people, if you don't see just absolute justice just start reigning right now, it's going to be it's going to be pretty bad. It's like because people are going to really lose confidence, complete and absolute confidence in the government. Because how could you have confidence in a government that continues to allow these things to go on?
Right. Well, you can't. Right. That's why we're going to see this rolling out, and that's these events like what happened in Puerto Rico. That's not going to stop. There's going to be another data dump from somehow these text messages to make it out by, let's say, Dianne Feinstein, right, or others, right. So we're
all that can happen in private. I could care less if another story like that ever hits the news. Here's what I'd love to have happen. Go treat that like a domestic problem and keep your domestic problems domestic. So you got all this horrible stuff that you guys did. You know what? We don't need you publicly flogged so that we can all consume, the horrible things. Here's what should be happening right now. While all that mess is playing out, there should be the most incredible surge of humanitarian funding to ever take place in such a fashion that no one would even care. Now, the agencies still got to go do their jobs and arrest people, and the courts got to do their job. You know what? Go do your jobs. Go do your jobs. Tell us the bits and pieces here and there, and let the news be dominated by, oh my gosh, another miraculous invention just is in production that will literally completely fix global warming, right? It's amazing. And it will also stop our, overpopulation of dragons, which is also not real, but whatever. So the point being is that is what we should be talking about and focused on. But unfortunately, that's not the story right now, And so that's part where I'm still on edge and why I don't see how we let off that. And I really am sincere about this, about looking to source and to Kim and to Trump and to myself. If there's something I'm supposed to be doing, let me know. Please, somebody help me get there because I'll do that. But it really is time that people, are truly represented here on our own planet. I think it's awesome. Kim is representing us, and there's no one I think is more qualified than Kim. And I'm very grateful that she's doing that and stood up for all of us on the Galactic Council. And in following in her footsteps, I do it here, and you do it here, right? And I just,
right.
I want that somehow to be, I want the financial support right now to be able to do that in force. And I believe that, and I don't even like this word, but I do believe that we deserve that we have earned that right. So.
No, it is. It is our right. It is ours. Yeah. So it's the illusion is gone. That it's not ours, and we don't deserve it. So that's gone. We're in another place. So we're set and ready to go.
Yes,
Hey,
indeed.
I'm okay if we're okay. Anything else we should cover?
No, man, I appreciate it. Sorry I was on so late, and
No.
always good to talk to you.
All right.
Appreciate it, and good luck in your meeting today. Please let me know if you anything awesome that happens or awful, either way. And
Yeah.
everybody, have,
Looks like I'm gonna
have a
contact.
great night.
I'm going to get off. I want to contact my friend about the breastplate. So because it might get too late for him.
Right,
So,
sure.
all right, everyone. Thanks for attending. Please be sure to give likes. We're only at 25 with 102 watching. Likes are important. Be sure to share the video. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check your subscription. Just check back and make sure you are subscribed because they will unsubscribe you. I was noting yesterday that 2 an hour were coming off, right?
Wow, really?
Now, of course, I don't know how many we're adding, because it's been, it's been staying around 13,000, and falling below 13,000, going up about 20, and then falling back again. And this is just not normal, right? This is craziness that they're doing. But it's all right.
Yeah.
We'll just keep at it. All right, and
Hey,
we'll see you tomorrow.
go fight, win. Yep. Later, man. Bye.
Okay. All right.